Hello everyone, welcome to the NFSC Speaks live from New York. And I'm with my co-host Prince today. So how are you doing, Prince?
Not so well, Nicole. I was stuck on traffic driving here yesterday.
Yeah.
Stuck traffic driving here today. With the gas prices nowadays, it's kind of hard, you know?
That's why you were late for our meeting, because you were stuck in the George Washington Bridge. The gas prices went like a 40-year high, and we have high inflation, high unemployment rate. So what does it mean for the everyday American people's life?
Well, you know, I would feel a lot better, right? If I know I didn't have $5,000 lost in China, right?
Wow. So what does it mean? Like, you know, your pension fund, or are they invested in China market?
Well, luckily for me, I don't have any pensions, right? But I know for many Americans, well, actually the vast majority of Americans out there, they're relying on their pension fund, their Social Security fund, to, you know, be able to continue their life after they have retired. But, you know, according to the latest statistics, there's approximately $1.4 trillion of U.S. pension fund invested in China.
And I just want to jump in here. So the public pension fund are the most invested in China market, not the private pension fund like 401k. So we know that the public pension fund are for the America's working class. The firefighters, the policemen, the civilian government clerks, the teachers, the nurses. They are the hardest working American working class. And they have no choice, because unlike the 401k, you can actually choose that you don't want your fund to be invested in China stocks. But for public pension fund, they're managed by money managers. And sometimes the money managers turn out to be the CCP spy. We know the nation's largest public pension fund in California, their chief investment officer, Meng Yu, is actually a CCP spy recruited through the 1,000 Talent program. So let's take a look at the photo. So I have a slide to show this is the CCP spy. And so this report is from the California Globe, titled U.S. Pension Fund Lost $400 billion on China investment in July. That's only in the summer of 2021. So every day we're seeing the American working class people losing their hard-earned money to China. So who is the white glove that make all of this happen?
Well, and you know, it goes back to our title today, right? The Bernie Madoff of China. You know, I think, you know, if you're watching this show, you're a blue-collar worker, right? You're the deplorables, right? You have no choice. Your money is managed by Wall Street. And then they turn that money straight to the CCP, right? And, you know, Shan weijan, who is, you know, hailed as one of the most prominent hedge fund managers in China, right? He is the Bernie Madoff of China. Even worse, actually, because Bernie Madoff took your money, right? He bought jets with it. He bought luxury, you know, houses, which Shan weijan did all of it. But he also built concentration camps, right? He also funded Chinese military apparatuses. He used the money not only to harm other people, but also to come back and hurt America. That's why we have all these crazy inflations.
Absolutely. So Shan weijan and his PAG, which is the largest private equity firm based in Hong Kong, is not only the enemy of the Chinese people, but also the enemy of the American people. Because imagine your hard-earned money is being invested in PLA-sponsored companies and projects that put American sailors, marine men, at risk. And that's not what I said. This is said by the former U.S. Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. And so this guy, Meng Yu, who is the chief investment officer for the nation's largest public pension fund, he was called out by Senator Jim Banks, by Congressman Jim Banks, because Jim Banks called him out and said, this is a spy. He's trying to put American people's money into the China. So let's take a quick look at the video of who is the Bernie Madoff of China.
Under management, and private equity is part of it. My firm is called PAG. We manage about $30 billion, and we invest about $2 billion a year in China.
Well, PAG is a $40 billion company. We have $40 billion under management. I focus almost all my attention on private equity buyouts.
Shan weijan, the CEO of PAG, one of the largest private investment firms in Asia. According to PAG's website, in 2022, it has reached $45 billion under management. But the public won't know that Shan's real identity is a high-rank spy of the Chinese Communist government. As the first group of students who study abroad after the Cultural Revolution, he took orders from the government and has been secretly executing many plans to destroy the rule of law in the world. He has played a very important role behind the 1,000 Talent Plan, which is a Chinese government recruitment to bring leading Chinese scientists, academics and entrepreneurs living abroad back to China since 2008. Behind the 1,000 Talent Plan, it's a Chinese government scheme to gain access and new technology for economic and military advantage from the Western countries. Shan Bo, son of the elder Shan. Like his father, he also raised as a spy to serve the Chinese Communist government. In 2019, he quietly purchased a $20 million Brentwood mansion from $1 Million listing cast member Tracy Tudor, in an all-cash deal. Since 2009, Shan Bo works for his father's another company, Gobi Capital LLC, which is a hedge fund company based in San Francisco. According to the financial statement, in 2021, Gobi Capital has managed more than $3.71 billion. Their largest investments include Google, Facebook, and Netflix, in which together worth near $2 billion. However, this company only has 8 employees, according to the record. How is it possible? The truth is, Shan Weijan and Shan Bo get full support and made dirty deals with the Chinese Communist Party, especially by the Vice President of China, Wang Qishan. That's why their companies can grow so fast. People need to know the truth, because Shan's crimes affect everyone in this world. He has the ability to control the medias, social platforms, and he even corrupted and money laundered the US pensions to invest CCP-based companies such as the Evergrande Group. Please share this video to expose Shan's spy identity and his crimes. We fight for the truth.
Wow, $20 million home bought with cash. No need to get a loan. And they're in their 30s. Shan Bo and his wife, Catherine Dooling. So, Prince, let me ask, for average American people, how can you afford to buy a $20 million with cash in your 30s? Is that possible?
Right, and then as we see in the video, right? So, Shan Bo, the son of Shan Weijian, right? He's only in his 30s, and his past decade and his only experience working in the industry was with a hedge fund that was founded by his father, controlled by his father. And I actually look deeper into his credentials, right? It kind of appalls to me because
does he have hardworking experience like the American police, firefighters, nurse, and teachers?
Well, so he actually only has, there's different licenses. You need to be a money manager, right? There's Series 6, there's Series 7 exams, and those are the most common ones. Where, he doesn't have any of those.
He doesn't have anything.
He only has Series 65, right? Which if you compare, is like a middle school exam to the SAT. That's the comparison we're getting here, right? So this guy, who's not even, technically qualified to be a money manager, can manage over $1 billion, and cash out $20 million on a luxury mansion, right? How did he do that? Right? The same question has been raised with Bernie Madoff's offsprings. The answer is he scammed your money, right? It's not his money. He stole your money.
So it's your money. It's American working class people's money. You should be sharing part of that big mansion worth $20 million, but most American people, I know people in their 20s and 30s cannot afford to buy a home with the Federal Reserve has increased the rates, the unemployment, the inflation. I know a lot of people in their 30s are still living in their parents' basement. Who can afford this $20 million mansion? I mean, those are the American people's hard-earned money, right?
Absolutely. And then, when you look deeper into this picture, right, it actually goes worse. Not only that your money goes to fund the luxury lifestyle of Shan and his sons, right? Your money also went to communist China in Xinjiang to build concentration camps for modern-day slaves, the Uyghurs, right? So, there's a much darker side to this China story, to the Shan Weijian story than people realize.
Absolutely. So besides the Uyghurs concentration camp, there's also massive surveillance project that was funded by American people's hard-earned money, your pension fund. So let's blow up the photo of Shan Weijian and his family. I see a beautiful photo of their family enjoying the California sunshine on the beach. Imagine, this is how American, treat this family. They came here with a mission to destroy this country, and they're enjoying the fresh air, the beautiful beach, the clean air, the sunshine, and they end up being the destroyer of your life.
Right. I mean, this is a classic communist tactic, right? Conquer and divide. Remember, communism, they are like the Nazis, right? They don't go on and declare full war against you. It's like a tumor, right?
Yeah.
It grows inside you, right? It's much worse for you, right? But you don't see it, you don't feel it. This is the insidious aspect of the CCP's invisible infiltration. So in the case of Shan Weijian, right? We've mentioned, how he maintains his lavish lifestyle. But I like to just take a step back and look at history, right? How did Shan Weijian become where he is today, right?
Well, he's one of the very earliest Chinese students. I remember when I, came to the United States of America, I didn't even have a passport because the Chinese government will ask you to provide some evidence to show that you have immediate family members living outside of China. You won't even have a passport. But Shan Weijian, in the early 80s, he was able to come to America to study and then build a successful and profitable career. I mean, that's like unheard of because for most Chinese people, I mean, getting even a passport and a visa coming to America is like the hardest thing in the world. So how did this guy get the privilege of coming to America to study as a student in the early 80s?
Well, if you ask him, right, what Shan Weijian says is this, and guys, I'm not making this up, right? He said he was, he was in a remote part of China, so in the northeast Gobi, right? So it's a remote desert in China. So he was, basically, sent down there to do labor during the Cultural Revolution. He said he simply one day picked up a pen and paper and wrote a letter to Chairman Mao and then Zhou Enlai, right, which is the then Prime Minister of China. He simply wrote a letter to them, and they read the letter and said, "Oh, you will be great. We will not only get you to an admission space in the University of International Business and Economics, UIBE, which is a state-controlled espionage school, right? Trained to educate spies. But he also became one of the first 500 students in China to be paid by the state to go study abroad. Right? All because he picked up the pen and wrote a letter.
Yeah, I mean, that is absurd because imagine how many people who were sent down to the countryside to pick up the pen and paper to write to Chairman Mao, and how many of them got this privilege and opportunity to travel abroad to study in America. So actually, I have a video that's what I did about eight months ago about how Shan Weijian is being groomed as the CCP's top agent to work overseas on a mission to destroy the Western democracy and rule of law. So let's play a video.
In an interview by 60 Minutes, Shan greatly appreciated the CCP regime.
Now China has better roads, better highways, better airports, better ports, better bridges than the United States, a country which dazzled me when I first arrived in 1980s with its infrastructure. But now China has a better infrastructure. So there is a role for the government to play.
In fact, after the CCP joined the WTO, they utilized spies like Shan to infiltrate the US for stealing technological achievements, deceiving the American people for their investments to give blood to the CCP. We can use pension funds as an example. Shan's companies, TPG, PAG, lure U.S. pension funds with high returns. In December 2021, San Francisco City and County Employees Retirement System Board report showed that in 2018, the Spurs invested $50 million to PAG. Again in 2019, the Spurs invested $100 million to PAG. And in 2020, Spurs continued to invest $25 million to PAG. In addition to getting the Spurs' fund, they've also reached their black hands on the Los Angeles Pension Fund. Lacers invested $100 million to the TPG in 2018, and it is a longtime partner with TPG back to 1999. Lacers has invested $152.5 million to TPG over the years. The PAG and TPG also obtained funds from Texas Permanent School Funds. According to September 2018 Texas Permanent School Fund report, TPG was granted $75 million and PAG received $100 million. All these are just the tip of the iceberg. These Americans' pension funds were growing on paper with the CCP's bubble economy, but they were actually already in the pockets of the CCP thieves like Shan. So, American people's pension funds will disappear along with the collapse of the CCP's bubble economy. Shan Weijian's companies are undoubtedly blood-sucking tubes that insert into the Americans. They took the money from both American and Chinese people, and are using these money to enslave the Chinese people, and trying to enslave American people as well. The American people should beware Shan's companies in his true color as a Communist Party spy and a thief stealing pension funds.
So guys, for our viewers who happen to be the members of the nation's largest public pension fund, the California Public Employees Retirement System, or the nation's second largest public pension fund, the California State Teachers Retirement System, this is the guy that you need to hold accountable for the loss of your hard-earned money, because of the $430 billion California Public Employees Retirement Fund, of 11 billion were actually invested in China through PAG, through the black hand of Shan Weijian in 2021 alone. And also for the $290 billion California State Teachers Retirement Fund, your money has been redirected and funded into the end group. You know, in Chinese it's called a 蚂蚁金服, and a lot of your retirement fund has been associated with Alibaba and Jingdong and Didi, and some are the PLA-sponsored surveillance project that is threatening the national security of the American people. So Shan Weijian is a person that you need to pay attention to. And I think that if you're worried not only about your own financial loss, but worried about your children's future, you should pick up the phone and call your local elected officials, call your county officer, call your state senator, your governor, and share your stories about Shan Weijian.
Right. And I think, for the folks there who, kind of is like, on the verge of not understanding how this works, right?
Yeah.
A very simple way to understand how the CCP is stealing your money via, entities created by Shan Weijian, right? Like PAG.
Yeah.
The way that works is rather simple, right? Your money, when you pay taxes each year, right? A certain percentage of your money gets taken to put into the pension fund for your retirement. All that money then goes to all these different names that Nicole just mentioned, but essentially they're all managed by Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Then Wall Street collaborates with folks like Shan Weijian, right? They gave your hard-earned money now to them. They take this money back to Communist China, fund their military development, and then they work with kleptocrats like Wang Qishan, right? Who then use various financial schemes, I don't bother to explain, but steals your money and then goes overseas again, back to America, right? Change pocket, change hands. Your money is their money. Your house is their house. Your mansions is their mansions.
Absolutely. So we are in Manhattan. In Manhattan, Wang Qishan and some of the CCP's kleptocrats, they own big apartment in Manhattan. And how did they get those money? It's your money. It's the American working people's hard-earned money. And so your kids cannot afford to buy a home, but it's the Chinese government officials. They got your money through PAG, through the private equity investment in China. So these people, their children, their siblings, their sons and daughters can live a luxurious life in New York City, in California. So while they're enjoying the sunshine, the beach, the clean air, they're exploiting the American people, the deplorables, the chumps, the basket of deplorables, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's really horrible when we talk about this because right now we're not in a good place in America, right?
No.
There are American people struggling to put food on their plate, right? If there are people in Florida that's dealing with the fallout of the hurricane. This country is not doing great right now.
No.
Yet, right? The princelings of the Chinese Communist Party,
the sons and daughters of the princelings. And then did you hear what Shan Weijian was telling Leslie Stahl in that 16 minutes? He said, when I first came to America in the early 80s, America has the best infrastructure, the railway, the highway. But now look at China. China is doing better in America because we have better roads, better highway, better infrastructure system. So where did they get the money? It's the American hard-working people's hard-earned money. It's your pension fund. It's your money being invested in the CCP's infrastructure. That's the story here that we need to talk about. And so I think that you should be sharing the story with your state elected officials and share with your friends. And we have our Getter account. Feel free to post our program and share with more people because together we need to protect Americans' future. We need to protect your kids, your life, your American way of life.
Right. And I think, I encourage everyone, all the Americans out here that are watching this stream right now, right? I encourage you to go and check your state pension fund, to ask them, where is my money, right? Is my money invested in China? If so, pull it out, right? I don't want my money to be invested in China because I don't want my money to go fund, concentration camps, or worse, I don't want all my money gone, right? Because that's what the communists, that's what they're gonna do to you. Why do you think President Biden just visited Beijing, right? To collab with the Chinese Communist Party, to collab with Xi Jinping, because the CCP has the upper hand right here, right? They can go back and say, hey, I'm not giving your money back, right? What are you gonna do, right? So act now before it's too late.
Before it's too late, And so I think that we're going to expect a worsening economy, and for American working class, days will be harder, but don't forget who stole your money. And so we have another video to share with you how Shan Weijian became a very well-spoken. He's very well-spoken. He was invited on CNBC's Wall Street Squad, and he has an absolute powerful voice in shaping America's investment decisions. And we know a lot of the companies, they do not want to invest in China, but because of the pressure from the Wall Street and from people like Shan Weijian, he's like, hey, don't miss this opportunity. China is your best bet. That's the fastest growing emerging market. If you don't put your money there, you're going to lose the future. But that's not your brighter future. That's your doom. And so let's take a quick look at this video about who is Shan Weijian, the Bernie Madoff of China.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about the most prominent member of the CCP's proxies in the West. He has a powerful voice to disinform and disorient the West to the fullest extent of the CCP's agenda to grind down the free world. His name is Shan Weijian, the chairman of PAG, a $40 billion private equity firm in Hong Kong. His background rivals that of the top American elites. He graduated from UC Berkeley with a PhD in business, served at the World Bank's investment officer in Washington, D.C., taught at the Wharton Business School at UPenn, and worked as a JP Morgan's managing director and chief representative in China. He has a best-selling memoir with a foreword written by the U.S. Secretary of Treasury. You can find his book reviews and profiles in leading mainstream media, including The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Forbes, NPR, and NBC, to name a few. Shan Weijian has a leading voice in shaping the American investors' attitude and behavior on China. He's a mastermind behind the hundreds of billions of dollars of U.S. pension funds lost to the fallout of the Chinese companies in the summer of 2021. Equipped with a U.S.-trained professional background in business, academia, and diplomacy, he acts like a de facto trial lawyer for the CCP's deceptive practice to mislead the West into disasters, one after another. Shan Weijian continued to tout the CCP's narratives. We represent many of the American investors, and we have many state pension funds. For years, the CCP has been touting the China rush as part of its ambition to suck the life out of America's money market in order to build its own economic muscle and finance its global expansion. If Goldman Sachs and Blackstone are giant crocodiles wrapped around the face of humanity, clamping down on their prey with their massive jaws, crush it, then swallow the prey, Shan Weijian is the manager of the crocodile farm. Using his prominent titles and connections within America's inner circle of the power and influence, Shan Weijian has successfully weaponized America's financial system to drain the wealth of the American people and enslave America's working class. Thanks to Shan Weijian's work over the last several decades in Wall Street and Washington, Chinese companies listed in the US have gotten away with massive shady practices and hidden problems by escaping from the US audit regulations. In the summer of 2021, US pension funds lost $400 billion on a China investment. The massive loss has affected many state and local public pension funds across the country. For example, the California Public Employees Retirement System, which is America's largest public pension fund, had invested $3.1 billion in the Chinese companies, some of which have been blacklisted by US government. Public pension funds are the hardest earned money of the American people, including teachers, police, and firefighters. Can you imagine people have worked their whole life for nothing, and no one is accountable for their losses? The name of Shan Weijian was never seen in public discourse, let alone holding him accountable for destroying people's livelihoods. What Shan Weijian did was exactly turning the hardworking American people into the CCP's jiucai, or chives. In communist China, we the people are often coined as jiucai, where the CCP cut the jiucai all the way near the roots, leaving just enough inches for the plant to grow back in order to be harvested again. This time, Shan Weijian harvested hardworking Americans and turned them into a delicacy on Xi Jinping's dinner plate.
Now China has better roads, better highways, better airports, better ports, better bridges than the United States, a country which dazzled me when I first arrived in 1980s with its infrastructure. But now China has a better infrastructure. So there is a role for the government to play.
What role has the CCP played in people's life? Is a forced transfer of technology and the theft of intellectual property. Is a mass surveillance and thought policing in a 1984 dystopian society. Is it building the concentration camp for mass murder of the Uyghurs and all other dissidents.
So did you hear Shan Weijian is talking about praising the Chinese government for making China a better society with better infrastructure than America? So he's a de facto spokesperson for the CCP. He's not, but his son and his daughter-in-law and his family are enjoying the freedom in California.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's people like Shan Weijian, right, are what you see in the movies, right? Yeah. You talk about these supervillains, you talk about, you know, the demons, but, you know, these people exist in real life, right? They're, every day, your children go to school with their children, right? Every day, your money goes into their pocket. So to really to see through, you know, the entire, you have to see Shan Weijian for what he is. You can't think of him, right, as this well-educated businessman. No. You trace it back to the roots, right? Yeah. He was put out as a front by the Chinese Communist Party, well-packaged, right? You know, great PR, great personality, great persona, right? He's just some sort of business tycoon, right? When in reality, he does one thing and one thing well, stealing your money.
Yeah. And so for all of our American viewers who have lost your pension fund to China market due to Shan Weijian stealing and robbery, please pay attention. Follow the NFSC Speaks on Getter account because we'll be showing, it's all public record. We will show the public address of the $20 million home bought by Shan Bo and his wife. And so I think I would be among the first to launch a peaceful protest in front of their house and ask them, where's my money? Where's my pension fund? You know, why you are living in this $20 million expensive home while I'm struggling with putting the kitchen items on my dinner table. So yes, we will be publishing the address of this $20 million home. And, you know, I would love to be there to protest for American people's rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. What do you think about that?
I think 100%. And I think it's also important to note that he didn't do this alone, right?
No.
This could not be accomplished by him alone.
Yeah.
He has many culprits, many, you know, wrongdoers who were there to accompany him, many of whom Americans too.
Yeah.
So in the coming episodes, we'll not only be exposing Shan Weijian and his family members, we'll also be exposing the people who betrayed this country that gave birth to them.
Yeah.
The American lawyers, citizens, journalists, right, financial institutions that helped to steal your money.
Yes, and so please follow us on NFSC Speaks or Nicole at Prince Lee, because we will be doing more live streaming broadcast, and we'll be sharing more explosive information about Shan Weijian and his co-founder, which is a Caucasian Westerner. And so we will be sharing more stories with you. And thank you for your time, and we will see you next time. And thank you, Prince, for being here with us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.